Yes, yes, yes. What's going on, everybody? What's going on? Another Tuesday. Another Tuesday. I almost said Wednesday, man, because it feels like time is flying by, man. I mean, we're already about to be in February. Isn't that crazy? Like, it seems like the year just started. But what's going on, man? How's everybody doing? How's everybody doing? We got a lot to discuss, a lot to get into today. But how y'all doing, man? How y'all doing? How y'all doing? Football fans, Ravens squad in here going strong. That was a football weekend for everybody, man. We have a bunch of things to get into today and a lot of stuff that I want to get your guys' opinion on. What has changed during the last time that we spoke on the fights this weekend? Of course, we know Munguia and Ryder weekend, a bunch of other fights happening over in the UK, which we will definitely get into. So, let's see who's all in here, man. Let me know. Let me know. My man Lights Out, man. What's going on? Oh, your boy found out how to get the comments on the screen. So you know it's gonna be jumping a little bit more in the chat, man. Lights Out, what's going on, man? Good to see you. Pablo, what's going on, man? What is going on? It's good to see you guys all here, man. Chris, what's up, baby? How you doing, man? How you doing? Man, we got a lot to discuss today, but you know how we do it, man. Let's Brother Francisco, what's up, man? What's going on? What's going on? Man, good to see you guys, man. We got the comments on the screen. Look, we're getting better at the streaming thing here, little by little, little by little. So let's get into the quick rundown of everything, man. So really don't have too much, but you know, I always say 45 minutes to an hour, but we're probably going to go over that hour, man. Probably going to go over that hour. So here's what we got on deck today. We got Natasha Jonas, Michaela Mayer, the post-fight recap of that, Mark Jeffers and Jermaine Brown. Then we got Kenshiro Teraji versus Carlos Canizales, which happened early today, early fight. Our team Dalakon and Akuyi, got to discuss that one. Any changes of Munguia and Ryder this week? Then we're going to go in a couple other ones, including Siobhan Clark, Tommy McCarthy. Oscar Collazo is back in the ring this weekend versus Reneris Gutierrez. Gabriela Fondora, Christina Cruz. We'll talk about that as well, too. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but there was a little bit of a leaked tape with Teofimo Lopez and Rolly Romero sparring video, and it just made me kind of think, because Sean Porter has talked about on his podcast, him sparring Gervonta Tank Davis. So it just made me have this question. I want to hear your thoughts. Does sparring really matter? Because in any sport, sometimes you have practice heroes, practice champions, but they're not able to equate it to the real time. And so I'm just curious to get your perspective about that. And then cool down segment, Q&A, other topics, and then we'll close it out with the quote of the week. Let me see what everybody's saying. Man, Pablo B says, I'm anxious to see Lewis Crocker and Patty Donovan, Gabriela Fondora. Being honest, I'm not really into Munguia Ryder. Why is that, man? Why you think that? Why you think that? Because I've been hearing different people say kind of the same thing, and we haven't really heard too much advertisement about it. You know, very interesting. Slowly progressing, man. I'm trying, man. I'm trying. I'm doing my best. I'm trying to honor the commitment that I said. I wanted to do more lives last year. Didn't really do it. So we put things into motion, man. We try to get it done, man. Honestly, one of the best, man. I really appreciate that, man. I really do appreciate that, man. Trust me. Stuff like this really does mean a lot, man. Lights Out says, oh, it matters, sparring. Yeah, man, I agree. Okay. You know what? Let's start Natasha Jonas, Michaela Mayer. What did we think about that fight? What did we think about that fight? We knew it was going to be a close fight, 50-50 fight, back and forth type of fight. What did we think about the decision? What did we think about the outcome, right? Because you get into the social sphere, and a lot of people were saying, man, Michaela Mayer got robbed. She got screwed. She should have won that fight. And I mean, you can kind of make that case almost to everything unless it's definitive, but that's the key word right there for me. I expected it to be close. And when you are fighting in another person's home country, man, if you are not definitive in the work that you're doing, there's a good chance it's kind of always going to go to the champion. And the one thing that I like, man, And actually, brother Francisco said that. He tweeted it to me, and I noticed it as well too. He said he did not like this weight for Michaela Mayer. He didn't think it was good, and I know he's in the comments, so we can touch on a little bit about that. But what was interesting, man, was Michaela became a come forward brawler type of fighter now. Usually she's a little bit quicker and a little bit more agile, takes a little better angles, and she just does things with fluidity and a little bit of speed to it. But this time, man, I don't know if that was the game plan. I know she probably, well, I don't want to say I know because I didn't talk to her, but she probably felt like if she was going to get the decision and the win over there, she had to be the aggressor. I'm just anticipating speculating that that's probably what she was thinking, but she did look a little bit slower. I like the aggression. I like some of the stuff that she was doing, man. But when she was getting caught, man, Natasha Jonas was catching her with some nice shots, man. Michaela Mayer got a chin. You know what I'm saying? I didn't know the chin was like that. She took some shots and she ate it and she came forward, man. So very, very, very interesting performance. I wouldn't say it was a robbery per se, because when you're going to somebody's hometown, home country, it's got to be definitive, man. You have to look a little bit each round further apart. And I thought there was some close rounds. And when it's close, usually the judge sees the last 10, 15 seconds and remembers that. So interesting, man. I thought Michaela Mayer did enough to win. I thought she really came on strong in the championship rounds. I thought she did enough. A lot of people thought that she did enough, but it wasn't the outcome that we thought it would be, but personally, I thought that she did enough to win the fight. I like the aggression. I like the front foot. I thought she was able to do a little bit more. She outworked Natasha Jonas to me, even though Jonas has some great moments, some nice hands, nice left hands. But to me, I felt like she got outworked, but you know how it goes, man. My man Chris says it was a robbery. Man, I hear you, man. It was I don't know, man. It's very interesting, man. Bunch of interesting scorecards that we'll definitely touch on. My man, Low Clarity, what's up, man? Good to see you. Good to see you. I thought NJ versus Michaela was awesome. Hard to score. I don't know how to score properly, but I thought NJ fought great. They both did. Tough to score. Yeah, very tough to score, man. Maybe we'll see a rematch. I doubt it, but we'll see. I think people just favor a few eye-catching shots over the other criteria. Yeah, definitely. It's the eye-catching shots that we all see, right? And I think that was probably one of the things, because when Jonas was really letting that hand go and landed cleanly, man, Michaela's neck got snapped back a little bit, but man, she just kept coming forward. I was actually really impressed with the durability of her chin, man. All right, let's see. When Pablo says, talking about Munguia Ryder, I think Munguia Ryder will see Munguia Canelo September Benavidez. Canelo will never happen. That's what frustrates me about the fight. Oh, man, we could get into that all day, every day. I'm a little bit hopeful that we might get that Canelo Benavidez fight. It just may not be for a couple more years, because I don't think Canelo has much more years left in him. That's a different conversation. Man, Chris Welch is as a UK fan. I love both. Obviously, wanted Jonas to win as a UK fan, but I'm an honest person. Fight wasn't even close, in my opinion. Mayer won it 7-3. Man, you can make a great case for that as well too. Some of those rounds were really close. I kind of always favor the aggressor a little bit more, because at least you're trying to force the action. You're trying to make something happen. And I thought that Michaela Mayer did a good job of that. For sure, some of these rounds are close. Could have gone either way. Absolutely. Jonas had more damage to her than Mayer. Mayer should still be unbeaten, man. I feel sorry for her. Yeah, but she made a smart decision, man, by not waiting for that Alicia Baumgardner rematch, because she's probably not going to get that. So it's good that she moved up and tried to make some other things happen. I hope that she gets a rematch. I don't think that she will. So it puts her in an interesting situation, because now you have 2 losses on your career, right? So now it just gets a little bit sticky, man. And Pablo says, fantastic performance from both girls. Michaela changed her game plan after the third round. That made the difference, man. Again, I thought she fought very well. I wasn't really sure how she was going to handle the power in the southpaw, but I thought she did some really good adjustments, man. She fought well to me. She fought well to me. Brother Francisco says, I didn't like Mayer at welter. She was not as agile as a few weights ago. She looked a lot bigger, and she was more of a puncher. Didn't work her jab as much, but I still thought that she won. Yeah, man, I think so too, man. She doesn't have a whole lot of pop, but man, when she hits, sometimes you're like, whoa, it kind of catches you off guard a little bit. She got a little something to her. Lionel, what's going on, man? Good to see you. Women's boxing, too tough to score. Lots of punches thrown combined with lack of power make it hard for fighters to separate themselves. Yeah, man, I agree. I think a bunch of them are campaigning for 12 rounds, 3 minutes, but I don't think we see that any changes for the next little bit apart from what Serrano did. But for that to be moving forward, I just don't see it happening anytime soon. But, we'll see. We'll see. Man, Chris says, I really rate Mayer. I did before the fight. I think she's got complete boxing IQ, man. I was very impressed with the way how she fought, man. I'm not going to lie to you. I was very impressed. This is why women fights should be 3-minute rounds, not 2-minute rounds. Absolutely agree. Absolutely agree. So before we move on to the next topic, man, it was a great fight from both women. This is what we get when the best are fighting the best. And, we have different perspective and outcomes about it. A lot of people thought Jonas won. Not mad at that, but I really thought that Michaela Mayer did enough to seal it to get the win. But you know how it goes, man. It doesn't always play out like that. All right, let's move forward very quickly here. I didn't see this fight like live because they moved it from the main card to the undercard, and they were supposed to show it on Sky Sports. But when I was over trying to find it on the Sky Sports YouTube page, I guess because I was in a different country, it just wouldn't let me watch it. So I had to catch some of the highlights and the stuff. But for those that have seen this fight and were able to catch it, give me your quick thoughts about it. From what I saw, the brief tapes that I saw, Jeffers looked great, man. Seemed to be a one-sided fight. Brown never really got started, never really got in his rhythm, built momentum. And Jeffers' athleticism, physicality, and his skill was able to really show. So I just wish they wouldn't have moved it off of the card, off of the main card, man. I thought this was a very good matchup. But again, I think Jeffers has a lot of potential, a lot of upside. So he continues his winning streak. So good to see him, man. Good to see him back in it. Let's move forward to the fight that we saw today. Let's go backwards. Let's go with our team Dalakon versus Sego Akui. Man, there was a lot of things. Real quick, man, Pablo said I had the same problem. I couldn't watch Jeffers Brown. Yeah, man. Hopefully we get to see a more uploaded video on YouTube pretty soon. What do we think about this fight, man? This fight kind of brought different people in a little uproar. Kind of brought people in a little bit of an uproar. What do we think? What do we think about this one, man? It was interesting to say the least. I'm someone where, man, whenever we make predictions, whenever we do the videos, man, obviously we know in boxing anything can happen. And we are all just, when I make videos, I'm just trying to give it to the best of my ability, but it's all speculation of what could happen. And so when you're seeing Dalakon and when you're seeing Akui, obviously, we know Dalakon didn't have the greatest performance in his last fight. Akui was building a lot of momentum and he was at home. I never have a problem with how the fight goes per se, because it could go either man. But the problem is when you get to the judging aspect of it and you see some of the scorecards and you see, like, how did they get to this type of decision? One judge, if I remember correctly, it was one or two judges gave Dalakon like 2 rounds. 2 rounds. 2 rounds. I'm like, how do you get like 2 rounds? I didn't see it like that by no means. I have no problem with the Kui winning if that's what people say, if that's what they see. But some of those rounds were a lot more competitive and closer than what meets the eye. And for me, Dalakon, he moves around very well, but he also doesn't always throw a whole lot of shots. And so sometimes he's evading, but he's not throwing anything behind it, and he can get outworked. And I thought that was why Okui was able to get the nod and was able to get it done. But man, some of the scorecards, like I'm someone, if it's like 113, 115, you can be like, okay, yeah, I can see that. I may not agree, but I could see it. You know, but when all of the scorecards were that wide, all of them, like every single one. So we just not going. It was just tough for me. How was it for you guys? For the ones that saw it was early, but I was just like, man, these scorecards, some of these scorecards getting ridiculous, man. So I didn't think Dalacon had the right plan. I didn't think he came in with an offensive mindset, man. I thought he felt like he could stay on the outside and try to box his way through, but not all of his shots were kind of getting through. And once the head clash kind of came in, he's trying to get a little bit bloody in the nose. It just seemed like Akui was able to just turn it up a little bit and catch him a little bit easier, especially with some looping shots, man. So interesting. I think Dalacon was a great champion. I like his style of fighting. I just wish he would throw a little bit more. But there are also some shots too where Akui was throwing shots, but Dalacon was just ducking back, and it slightly missed. But the crowd was going crazy as if it landed. So it was interesting. It was interesting. See what some of you guys say. My man Low Clarity says, I think a judge was said 119 to one, crazy wide. Crazy wide. I didn't see that. Glad you didn't see it either, man. Yeah, that was a little bit wild to me, man. Renteria, what's going on? What's going on? Good to see you. Good to see you. Dalacon lost due to wrong strategy, in my opinion. Yeah, he didn't throw enough, man. I think aggression sometimes plays a big role, and when you don't impose that or see it, it kind of seems like you're running a little bit. So interesting. I think Dalacon's defense was good, but not impeccable. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely, not as good as we've seen him before. But he's been a great champion since 2018. So maybe Father Time is catching up with him a little bit. So Dalacon's last opponent kept smothering his work when Dalacon was in the corner, but Akui was doing a better job with cornering him. Yeah, Jimenez didn't do the best job at doing that. He kind of smothered his work, and he's a big puncher. He's a bigger puncher than Akui, in my opinion. Jimenez was. You kind of don't have to cut off the ring against Dalacon. He cuts himself off. Yeah, he's a little unorthodox in his approach sometimes, definitely. So interesting fight, man. Interesting fight, man. Let's move on. Let's go to the main event. Kenshiro Teraji, Carlos Canizales. What did we think about this fight? Man, fight of the year, early fight of the year candidate. It's hard not to think that with everything that this fight had, it had knockdowns, it had heavy punches. Both guys were wobbly at times. Both men really had to dig deep. It was. If this is the type of energy that we're getting in January, man, February is going to be great because we got some great fights over there too. The toughness of both of these men. We know Canizales, he's a man can punch. Man is relentless. He fought a great fight. I wouldn't even been mad if they gave it to him. He fought that well. Kenshiro, man, before the last two rounds, and you guys let me know if you read anything or heard anything, but going up to those, man, this was a great fight of determination, heart, will, power, adjustments, consistency, and really just belief, man. Kenshiro is a guy that you can beat. In the last couple of fights, he's been looking great, but he's a guy that you can beat. And this was a fight where you say, man, one of the best ways that you can beat him is to put him out in those deep waters, make him have to dig, test his will, test his heart. And this is what both men did to each other. And so that's what made it such a great fight, man, because Kenshiro, every time I see him, he just finds a way to get it done in the pressure situations. He finds a way to not let the moment get too big for him and come out on top. It was a fight that could have went either way, depending on what you were seeing and what you liked better. But it was a great fight. Not mad at how it ended. I was a little bit surprised that this fight went the distance because of how aggressive that they came out, how violent that these guys were coming in. You got to the sense where it was like, man, this fight's not going to last 7 rounds. but it just goes to show, man. I thought both of these men probably their legs were fading, but the mind was still strong. And if the mind is still strong and the body, you're able to keep the body up, man. Beautiful, beautiful thing to see. And there wasn't any dirty stuff either. You know what I'm saying? Some fights are a little bit tricky to navigate through, but it was a good, clean fight, good, solid fight. Definitely early fight of the year candidate, man. So it makes things a lot more interesting. I hope Canizales gets more opportunities. I hope they don't just throw him away. But this was a very good fight, and he almost pulled it off. And to some, he definitely did. So great fight, great fight. Man says, wish I could have seen the whole main event. I had to leave to go to work in the middle of it, just like with Inoue Fulton. Oh man, man. The one thing about the Japanese crowd, man, is they get turned up for their peoples, man. They come alive. They definitely come alive. Pablo says, great fight from Kenshiro and Canizales. Kenshiro's defense looked weak. He looked intimidate against Canizales' power. Two judges gave it 116, 112. Yeah, that was a bit wide, a little bit wide for me as well, too. I thought it was a lot closer. I thought 115, 113 was probably the more feasible across the board. Could have went either way. But going back to the thought that I forgot, did Kenshiro hurt himself in the last little bit? Because he didn't really throw that right hand as much. He was just using that jab, but he wasn't really throwing anything. I was like, yo, what are you doing? Are you hurt? Like, what's going on? Like, you can't just not throw that hand when Canizales is cocking that thing back and trying to clean you out. So I wasn't sure if he was hurt or what the situation was. Maybe you guys heard something, but yeah, it was just different. I was expecting him to throw that hand, but he didn't do it. So I'm wondering if he was hurt or something, man. So definitely let me know if you guys know a little bit more and have seen it or heard anything about that, man. But very good fight. I enjoyed it. Early fight, definitely early fight, but definitely was a good fight, man. I enjoyed it. Not mad at the outcome, not mad at who won. Who would get a decision out of Taraji? I see a solid opponent for Gatito Carrell, but for only Canizales in a rematch. Yeah, yeah, I don't know, man. I wouldn't mind seeing a rematch, man. I think Kenshiro might make better adjustments. He might need to. He was getting a little hit too cleanly for my liking. But all in all, man, good fight, good fight, good fight, good fight. Let's move forward, man. Let's move forward. Let's talk about this week. Let's talk about this week. Any changes in your guys' opinion from who you like in this fight? I'm still going with Munguia to win this fight. I've seen a lot of people have been saying this is going to be a stoppage for Munguia. A lot of people have been saying that. A lot of people have been saying that. And it's definitely a possibility. We know Munguia likes to let his hands go. We know he'll take that risk. You know, he'll take shot for shot. We know he will do that. But you also get the sense, man, for me, when I look at it, man, I'm giving John Ryder the benefit of the doubt, right? Because of his history of how he's went up against guys who can punch and aggressive in those styles. And so I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt that he can make it the full range. I think he's going to give a little bit of a resistance and a little bit of fight, but I worry about him in that last 2 or 3 rounds, especially if Munguia comes in and really starts to let his hands go because he's relentless with that pressure and aggression once he decides to. So it's going to be interesting. I still think it goes the distance, but not mad at a lot of people saying that it could be a knockout because it's definitely possible and could quite happen, you know. So gonna be interesting. Gonna be interesting. Anybody in the chat here, has your mind changed? Has it swayed? Or are you still thinking Munguia by stoppage? You know, a lot of people said that. And it's good, man. Munguia, I hope to see Munguia fight a couple times this year, man. I know if he wants to fight Canelo, he's probably going to have a very good showing, man. If he can stop John Ryder, stop him, say within 8 rounds. If he can do that, Canelo wasn't able to do it. Does that bring up the anticipation? Does that bring up the want to see that fight a little bit more? Does interesting outcome if that does happen. So it's going to be good. It's going to be good. It's going to be good. So if anybody thinks otherwise, let me know before we move on to the next fight that we'll touch on very quickly. All right, let's keep going. Let's keep going. Other one happening over in the UK that a lot of people had interest in, Siobhan Clark. Wait, we got a comment coming in from man Pablo B. Says Munguia looked in great shape in his Instagram stories. Yeah, I haven't seen those ones, but Munguia comes in pretty good shape, man. He seems like he's a guy that really takes his work serious and really starts to dial in. But now, what he's 40 fights in, right? So now we want to see him against the top of the guys in these big fights. Duryachenko gave him a heck of a fight. Heck of a fight. We want to see more of that. We want to see more of that. Siobhan Clark versus Tommy McCarthy. My thoughts hasn't changed here. I think Clark knocks him out. And I think it doesn't take too long for it to happen. I just think Siobhan Clark is a more complete fighter. I think Tommy McCarthy, confidence in his last fight, his mannerisms didn't really sell me on him really wanting to be in this fight, man. I just think there's a confidence thing there that I didn't like his mannerisms walking back to his corner, and it just didn't work out for him, man. So I'm not sure if his heart is really in it at this moment. I could be completely wrong, but I did not like that version of McCarthy. That version of McCarthy gets stopped, and I think we see it. Man, Lights Out says, I'm so biased with my Mexican fighters, but this scares me. For Jaime, I've seen him in trouble with these types of fights too many times. Yeah, again, we knew Duryachenko is still a solid fighter, but he was older now. He had a lot of wars in his time already. So how was he going to fare? And to some extent, Munguia kind of got caught with some shots he should not have been caught with. He got clipped with some shots he should not have really been clipped with. And he got that test and he stood the test, though. So it is a tricky fight. In a fight that John Ryder could catch a second win and make it a lot tougher. We saw John Ryder and Callum Smith when they fought, right? That was a fight that a lot of people thought Ryder won that fight. So going to be interesting, man. It is a tough fight. I'm looking forward to seeing it. I would love to see Munguia get the stoppage. We'll see if he does. And I got to respect John Ryder, man, because, he's got, 5 losses, 6 losses, and he's still finding a way to get these big paydays and these big showing, man. So maybe he can pull it off. We'll never know. We'll see. We'll see. Henry, what's going on, man? Good to see you. McCarthy has pillow fist. He slaps a shot from the waist. It doesn't look good, man. He didn't look right in all forms to me in his last fight. Was not impressed. I didn't like it. I didn't like it. McCarthy's attitude against Sislek was so disappointing. 100%. He didn't look like he wanted to be there. And when, you can always tell when a fighter's mind is kind of elsewhere, man. But, maybe he'll turn around the hands of clock. Maybe we'll see. Showed no heart. Again, man, I didn't like it just as much as you didn't, man. So we'll see. I'm expecting Clark to come through, do his thing, and make it happen, man. Chris says Ryder gets robbed. That's always been my prediction. Munguia resume ain't great. Apart from Liam Smith, that's the only name, and Munguia arguably lost his last fight. Ryder will limit Munguia. It's definitely a possibility, man. I think Ryder's style could smother Munguia a little bit, man, and really just make it tough on him. Munguia's got to bring that physicality out of him. Yeah, we know we can let his hands go. We know all of that good stuff. But John Ryder makes you fight a different fight, man. He's a little tricky and craftier than he gets credit for, man. It's going to be good. McCarthy only good performance was against William Smith first fight. Absolutely. Between we don't see that McCarthy now. Clark is young and hungry and will break McCarthy down. I could not agree more. So we're all in the same conclusion there. Let's move forward, man. Let's talk on the Munguia Ryder card. Oscar Collazo versus Reneris Gutierrez for Collazo's WBO minimum weight title. What do we think about this fight real quick? I didn't do a breakdown of this one yet. I might try to get it done depending on the week. Action-packed week this week, man. I'm trying to get some stuff up, but may not get this one up in time. But real quick, man, Oscar Collazo is the real deal. Reneris Gutierrez, he's a good, solid fighter, man, but I don't think he will have the power to be able to back up Collazo or keep him off of them. I think Ramirez, if I remember correctly, only has 1 or 2 knockouts. The rest are all decision. Good footwork. He moves well. But Clazo is real deal, man. He is cold. That that man is cold, man. Speed, power, accuracy, movement, heart, will, grit. He's just Colazo, and I think he knocks him out. I think he gets a late stoppage. I think he gets a late stoppage. He breaks him down before he gets a late stoppage, man. I'm a big supporter of Colazo, man. I think he's a very great talent. And Pablo says, Papilo's team all day, man. We in the same boat. We in the same boat. So that was it real quick on that one. The other one on this card, another championship fight, Gabriela Fundora versus Christina Cruz. Fundora's title is on the line. What do we think? What do we think? Fundora's the man. She nice. Hey, she might be more aggressive than her brother to me. Sebastian's a solid fighter. Towering Inferno, solid cat. But Fundora, man, the Gabriela, she might be more aggressive. The other thing to note is if you're placing a bet on this one, again, I'm not a betting guy, so I only know the odds when you guys tell me. Something to note in here: Christina Cruz, she's 6-0, doesn't have any knockouts, but she's 41 years old now. So, keep that in mind. I don't think Cruz will be able to keep up with the power, the speed, the aggression, round to round, and the calculated and the placement of punches of Gabriela Fundora. So I think she is going to stop Cruz at 41. Watching some of her tape and stuff, she moves okay, but man, it's tough to beat Gabriela Fundora, man. What is her nickname? What is her nickname? I should search that. What is her nickname? Is it Lady Towering Inferno? I don't know what her nickname is, but like Gabriela Fundora, man, to stoppage win against Christina Cruz, probably in the middle rounds, maybe 6-9 for me. I just think, man, the younger fighter, hungry, more skills. It's going to wear down the 41-year-old Christina Cruz. That's no disrespect to her. She could possibly come out and upset the champ and get the title, but tough to see. Anything can happen, of course, right? Man, Lights Out says we ain't seen him since he got exposed, man. Man, Pablo says, Akima, man, much respect for Gabriela. I think she could have more power than Sebastian. Man, Gabriela's cold, man. She cold. She be throwing them hands. She cold, man. I really like her. I could bet she beat him when they were kids. Yo, that would be some interesting sparring sessions. You know what I'm saying? Because whole family is tall. Whole family is tall. So I like that, man. Henry says, appreciate you, Henry. Sweet poison. Okay. Say no more. Gabriela Sweet Poison Fundora. I like that. That got a nice ring to it. I like that. So I got Gabriela Fundora, man. I think she gets mid-round to late stoppage, man, and she retains her title. Gonna be a great fight. So let's move forward. So earlier, I'm on Twitter, or I guess it's called X. Man, ain't nobody be calling this thing X. It's gonna be Twitter. You introduced us as Twitter. You will be Twitter for the foreseeable future. So I'm looking here, man, and I see this video posted of Teofimo Lopez and Rolly Romero. And I'm watching this video, and maybe you guys have seen it as well, too. And I'm like, yo, Rolly is getting pieced up. Rolly's getting pieced up bad. And Teofimo is looking at him like he's a plate of food. And Teofimo was just breaking him down, breaking him out, to the point where it looked like Rolly didn't want no parts of the fight anymore. Well, it wasn't a fight, it was sparring. So it just made me think, man, does sparring really make a difference, right? Like, what do you guys think? Do you have to be someone who's a great sparring partner or sparring at the time to be able to have a successful fight, right? And I say that because in the sport of track and field, right? I've seen athletes. I don't want to say, I don't want to say any names, but I've seen athletes who are not like they're not good in practice. They kind of take it off a little bit. They operate at about maybe 70%. They don't take it seriously. But then they're able to have that switch and competition comes and they're winning gold medals, silver medals, but that might be a little bit different, right? But I'm saying it's possible to not be a sparring champion and come out and be a champion inside the ring. Obviously, we saw Rolly's case, a little bit different, but yeah, very interesting, man, because it looked bad. I'll tell you that. It looked bad. Oh man, Chris Welsh says sweet poison can only go two ways. Man, you could say that again, man. Sounds like a girl I dated. Sounds like a girl I dated that I shouldn't have, man. Learning lessons. Learning lessons. Experience, my brother. Experience. Man, Chris Russell, sparring matters. Enough said. Absolutely, man. During my time in sports, I'm a practice how you perform type of guy, man, because you just get bad habits if you don't practice the stuff that you're doing in sparring, man. So the video looked bad. If you guys haven't seen it, please go and check it out. It didn't look good, man. Rolly looked dejected by the way that ended, man. Man, Lights Out said that's all I needed to hear to bet Tio to get this KO in next fight. I thought he was about to stop GB Great Britain. Boy, late last fight. I thought so too with Josh Taylor. But I also want to keep in mind as well too that sparring was in 2017. I forgot to mention that wasn't recently. I don't know if that changes anything, my man. But man, I think honestly, man, I think at 140, man, I think Teofimo, man, at 140. There's obviously, Matthias Rolly's a belt holder, and we know Devin Haney. Man, I think Teofimo is the toughest fight out of them all because I think he's just the full package, right? I think he's the full package. I like Matthias. Matthias is probably the most bone-crushing one. But, man, something about a dialed-in, locked-in Teofimo Lopez, man. Tough. Tyrone, what's going on, man? Good to see you, man. Good to see you in here, man. Rolly confused me. You and me both, my brother. You and me both. He sold the heck out of that Tank fight, got himself a great payday, right? And it hasn't been the same since. Hasn't been the same since. Hasn't been the same since. But shout out to Rolly, man. Get your money as much as you can, man. But man, Last House says that that girl is one of my favorite songs. Hey, that song was playing on the wedding night, man. I was stepping. You should have seen your boy. I was spinning. I had to stretch though because it was hamstrings were a little bit tight. But one of my favorite songs, man. One of my favorite songs. Checking the video right now. The Fake Champ. Shout out to Rolly, man. shout out to Rolly, man. Yeah. You know what's funny, man? Like he be like, there are cats who be saying stuff like, man, he said that Tank isn't really that big of a puncher. And you hear him talking, I'm like, bro, then why didn't you get up? Come on, man. Don't say stuff like that, man. You get fighters like Tyson Fury who don't take it seriously in sparring. He may have been done recently, but that's because he got rocket up his backside. Tyson Fury, man. Speaking of that, man, a lot of people have been hitting me up a little bit early. I have the Tyson Fury and Usyk video done. Probably put it up maybe tomorrow morning or after this, depending on, you guys let me know by the end of this video, man. It's up to you. We can put that up whenever. But yeah, Tyson Fury, very interesting, man. Yeah, interesting. Practice A is voice. What you mean by that, man? What you mean by that? Man, Tyrone the Great laughing just like me, man. I don't know what Rolly Romero is. Jeez, man. Like, yeah, bro. Like, I don't know, man. I I don't know, man. I'm at a loss of words for Rolly sometimes, man. I'm at a loss of words for Rolly sometimes, man. Man, Tyrone the Grace is exactly Pablo B. Teo was a complete fighter. The only problem is you never know which Teo wake up to fight that day. The Teo from Sando Martin or Cambosis or the Teo against Loma. 100%. And that's the thing when it comes to Teofimo, man, is he doesn't always get excited for the fight. He doesn't always get up for the fight, and that's a problem. That's a problem. So I'm going to go on what we've seen last, the back and forth between him and Jermaine Ortiz. They seem to be, going at each other a little bit. Maybe he says something that upsets him. I like it. So we'll see. We'll see. It depends what Tyson Fury we get. Man, and I said this in the video when I made it earlier today. I said Tyson Fury, for as loud as we are accustomed to seeing him, for how much he loves to talk, for how much trash talk that he likes to say, he's been awfully quiet. So that makes me think he knows the severity of this matchup, and the small pictures that I've seen of him. Looks like he's taking it seriously, man. Looks like he's trimmed down a little bit. You can see it in his face. Shoulders are looking right. So we'll see. We'll see. He knows he can't take time off or not take this lightly because Usyk is no joke, man. So, but we'll touch on that at the right time. Allen Iverson, practice. We talking practice, not the fight. Talking practice, man. Shout out to AI, man. One of my favorite players of all time. Shout out to him. Lenny Allen. What's going on, Lenny, man? Good to see you. Mayor won, but judges got it wrong. They need to be held accountable, man. Yeah, man, it's the judges play to their own tune, man. Sometimes I'm just like, yo, who paying y'all? Like, how did y'all get to this conclusion? Like, sometimes you see fights and you're just like, yo, how did you get there? Let me know how you got there so I can see how I can get there. But sometimes we just boxing, man, boxing. So yeah, just wanted to get your guys' opinion on that, man. Sparring, definitely. I think it's very important. I think you practice like how you perform. So very interesting. Man, Lights Out says it's GP. Ain't no accountability on those panels. Man, you preaching, man. You. And the thing is, sometimes I give a little bit too much, I give a little bit too much of that naiveness to it. I'm like, they're going to do right. They're going to do right. You know what I'm saying? They're going to judge it fair. But then, everybody has their own bias, right? And maybe I should stop having that little fairness to it because we know that sports, especially boxing, is often not like that. Oh, man, Chris Welsh has UK judges, human worms. Chris, man, I take your words to heart because you're over there, right? You're over in the UK. You see it. You've been watching. You know what's going on, man. So when you speak, especially on your people, man, we have to take it. We have to take it. We got to see it, man. Boxer, matchroom frauds. All there is to it. Yeah, man. Honestly, man, I like Eddie Hearn. I think he did a great job putting together a great amount of fights last year. But I don't know, man. Sometimes it's very interesting to really kind of see. But all in all, man, it's all corrupt. Money. I'm gonna just leave it at that. Let's see. Before we move on, check out some of these last comments here. Man, he does, man. He does. He never sugarcoats it. He give it to us like it is, like how we see it. And he's a UK guy, so I always appreciate that, man. He's gonna keep it straight. Why do you think? Who do you think won from Lomachenko and Haney in your eyes? Um, that was a very one of my favorite fights of last year because it was a clean fight. it was high level boxing, high level IQ. I lean slightly towards Devin Haney. And that's a fight that really could have went either way. Like, I'm not mad at people saying Lomachenko. Sometimes, like, I watched it back a second time and I was like, man, might give it to Loma. But for me, I thought the last couple rounds, 9 and 10, because I thought Loma won the last two, 9 and 10. Uh, Haney did a really good job going to the body, right? Haney and his team, they do a great job of strategy, and they do a great job of buying into the plan. Like, they're never going to shy away from the game plan. And I thought Haney started very well, and he was going to the body. But there were also some rounds in that fight where Lomachenko was the one who was pressing the pace a little bit more. And I thought every time Loma was starting to get momentum, Haney would do something to kind of disrupt it a little bit. And I thought the body work that he did was very nicely done, very nicely placed. So I slightly lean towards Devin Haney, but I watch it back sometimes and I'm like, man, this time I kind of like Loma a little bit better. I thought Haney started strong, but I thought Loma finished. If Loma would have brought the same aggression that he did in the 11th round to the 12th round, he would have won that fight. But I felt like he backed off a little bit in that last round for whatever reason. Maybe he thought he already had it in the bag. But if he didn't back off as much in that 12th round, if he would have won that 12th round convincingly, I thought he would have won that fight. So that was a round for me that I'm like, man, Loma, you didn't really step on it here. You kind of let Haney steal that round. But if he would have brought it and really took it like how it did in the 11th round, I thought Loma would have won that fight. Ben Shalom can't smell any envelopes at the moment. He owes Eddie Hearn money in their court battle. No wonder Ben's staying away from. Yeah, I haven't seen him in a while. Like anywhere. Like, he's been quiet. Haney Loma wasn't a robbery. That was a close fight. Can't argue with either winner. You and me both, man. We're on the same page there. A draw would have been the right thing, but you got to beat the champ convincingly. That's the magic word right there. But I did want to cry with Loma when I saw him in the locker room post-fight. Man, Loma seems like a good dude, man. I don't know the guy personally, but he seems like I always respect someone who dedicates to their craft. Someone who, if this is the thing that you do, like, this is what you're doing for this time. And there are some fighters who don't really take it as seriously as they should, but when you see guys that go all in, and Haney goes all in too, it shows. But I'm just talking about from a general standpoint, it's tough when people you like, or when you see the heart and the will and you see them lose. Like, it reminds me of when Sugar Ray fought Wilfred Benitez, man. That was one of the greatest, my personal great fights that I've seen. And man, Sugar Ray just, heart, will got him back into that fight, man. So yeah, man, I'm with you, man. There were many swing rounds in the Haney Loma. Absolutely. Haney's an incredible fighter. Absolutely. Francis Ngannou. What about Francis? I'm thinking that you're talking about Francis Ngannou versus Fury. What do you think about that fight? Yeah, I'm not. I thought Fury won the fight. I thought Ngannou had some good moments. Obviously, the knockdown, but once Tyson Fury got back to boxing, I thought he was able to control range a little bit better. I know a lot of people thought that was a robbery as well too, and you're definitely entitled to that. But I didn't see it like that. I thought Tyson Fury did enough to win it, in my opinion. Robbery is used far too often. I don't use it all the time. I use it in certain fights. Yeah, we've been hearing the word robbery quite a bit. It's just a lot of close rounds, man. There are ones that we've seen big robberies in broad daylight, but it's not always often. Not always often. Okay, let's move forward. Let's move forward to the cool down segment. If you have not been in here before, the cool down segment is a reference back to my track and field days when the race is done and you're cooling down, getting ready to leave the track, and you just unwind, deload. This is a part where we share stories, any questions, other topics. This is the part that we get into, I have a bunch of questions that I didn't get to answer from last week that I am going to throw in here as well. So anything, let me just find these questions. Before I get to those questions in the DMs, let's see some of these comments real quick. Ngannou is experience showed, and then a Fury snatch it. I agree. Henry says Nick Ball, Ray Vargas, man. We haven't seen Vargas since his last fight. Been a while. Nick Ball is getting better. Nick Ball is getting better, man. I really liked his last performance against Isaac Dog Bay, man. It was a very nice test for him to see if he could compete at that high level, that elite level with the champions, man. And so I really like Nick Ball going into this fight. I'm just curious as to how Vargas is from an inactivity standpoint and how he's going to handle that type of pressure, because Nick Ball has to come in close in order to do his damage. And Vargas, when he fought Mark Mixayo, he was able to kind of keep him away a little bit. So interesting fight, man. I'm not really sure where I lean right now, but man, that's a good fight. Really like that fight. Thank you for popping that in here, man. Thoughts on USA trends? Possibly you don't have to answer it if it's too controversial. Man, this has been something that has been happening in the track and field space as well, too, right? Where because you identify as one, and to me, if you were born a male, man, you shouldn't be able to compete with any women. That's just how I feel. I don't think it's right. I don't think it's right. I don't think it should be done. You can go and get the surgery, but at the end of the day, you still have the makings of a man, the testosterone, right? The strength and levels, all of those things, man. So I don't think it's right. I think men should fight men. Women should fight women. If you were born a man, you stay with the men. If you were born a woman, you stay with the woman. So that's how I feel. A lot of people may not feel the same way, but personally, I just want to see it like that. Because in a fight, it's different. It's different. It's different. It's different. It's different. Let's see. That's a great scrap right there. Haney, absolutely. What are your thoughts? What are your NFL picks? I'm from San Fran, and I think we got a good shot at championship this year. I agree, man. I think it just depends. Is Debo going to play? And the thing is, if Debo does play, what type of version does Debo bring to the field? Because Debo, he is the heart and soul of that team, right? He does so much things. He's like a utility weapon. He can catch, he can pass, he can run. And so when you take that away, when you take an option away from Brock Purdy, it's going to be tough, man. But Detroit, I think they can beat Detroit. I think they're a better complete team than Detroit, but Detroit's a hungry team, man. And sometimes hunger and determination can really give you that extra grit. Ravens and Chiefs, man, I like Lamar Jackson, man. I like Lamar Jackson. And so it's going to be interesting to see how the Chiefs offense and the Ravens defense go against each other. The Chiefs have not looked that good all year, but if they're going to look good, now is the time to do it. So I'm thinking Ravens and I'm thinking San Fran in the final, man. What about you? Anybody that watches football, let me know your thoughts in here as well, too. Keen, please let us know if you had any meditation routine previous to a track and field competition. I was never really a meditation guy like that per se, but I always was someone who I like to have a bit of a routine. My routine wasn't exactly sitting there and meditating and visualizing. But for me, man, every time that I was going to the track and getting ready for competition, I was someone who I needed to be calm, right? And the one way for me to get calm was I'd just be listening to music. And I have a diverse list of things. Sometimes it's gospel music, sometimes it's reggae music, sometimes it's hip hop. It just depends. So I like to put myself in a state where I'm just calm. Because anybody, any fighter, any athlete that says that they are not nervous going into a competition, man, they're lying. Everybody is nervous. Nerves is that thing that makes us feel like we're alive. We need that. If you care about what you do, nerves should come. So I needed to find ways to quiet my nerves. And for me, I would listen to music and I would just walk 2 laps around the track and just taking it all in. So, in a way, that was not a traditional meditation, but a routine for me that definitely helped me get right, quiet my insides, and get ready for the sport. I favor ball due to an activity, but can't out Vargas. Tough one to call. 100%. Absolutely. Uh, my man Henry says, Amen. Appreciate the question as well, too, man. My man Tyrone the Gray says, yes, a fight is definitely different. Absolutely. The Y says, I was really looking forward to the Hitchens Catterall. I know many people weren't, but I was. Jack is one of my favorite fighters, man. I like both of those men. I like Hitchens, man. I like Hitchens. Sweet name for boxing as well, too. Hitchens. Come on, man. I like it. I like it. What happens when a man who wants to be a woman hurts the natural woman in a boxing ring? It all ends in tears, and it's like boxing or waiting for that. It's very worrying. Yeah, man, I don't like that, man. I just we try and I'm all for inclusion and everything, but some things, man, I just prefer it to be like how we were made. If you're a man, you fight men. If you're a woman, you fight women. Let's not try to complicate this thing, man. Let's just keep it what it is. Both men and women have brought spectacular things in sports, period. They're both at a high level, so for me, I'm just like, man, let's just keep it as it was designed. Man, Chris Walsh says ball demolition on Dog Bay is a statement. Dog Bay is that gatekeeper for that world titles. Yeah, man, I like Dog Bay too, man. He was once at the top, and then to see him kind of fall a little bit, kind of second guess himself a little bit, man. It's yeah, he is the gatekeeper. That's a great word. Ravens time to shine. I hope so, man. I hope so. I hope so. I hope so. I hope so. What were your go-to songs when quieting your nerves? Um, Sometimes it would be instrumental. So, for example, like Bob Marley has a song called Three Little Birds. I'm sure you've heard it where it goes, don't worry about a thing, because every little thing is going to be all right. So, that's one of the songs because it kind of just takes you to the tropical side of things. It takes me back to my days in Jamaica, growing up, man, eating mangoes off the tree, cutting fresh coconut, on the tree. Just it brings me back to that. So that's one of my songs. When I'm really trying to get upbeat and excited a little bit, I listen to a guy named Alkaline, another Jamaican artist. I might throw in some Drake in there. I might throw in some Future in there. But I'm not particularly listening to the lyrics per se as much as I'm listening to the upbeat cadence of the fight. Sprinting is rhythmic, and I want to get into the flow of things. Okay, let me get to one of these questions here that we didn't get to last week. This person says, Akeem, what happens when you are going into the call room of a race? What exactly goes on in there? What exactly happening? So before you go out to the track and the people see you and the cameras see you, you usually get called into this thing called the call room, which is where example, like when you see fighters in their training room and you see them in the background, similar thing. But the call room is with all of the other athletes, all of the other people. So you see your opponents right there. And it's a big poker game, right? Like you have guys who are mean mugging, right? You have guys who are in there, where they look confused, they look nervous, but you really get to see your opponents in that call room. So they call you in that room about 15 minutes out. They take you to this spot. They check you in. You get your numbers. You get your bib. Put your bib on. You put your spikes on. Then they call you to a second call room. And that's when you can do your strides. And that's when they line you up. And then the third call room is when they take you to the track. So it's really just checking in and making sure that you have everything. So that was one that I saw here. Let me get to one more here, and then we will get back to on the chat here. This one says, Akeem, what has been the toughest crowd that you have competed in? Man, the UK, England, those fans go crazy. Like the stadium was rocking. We came in there, Canadian team, we came in, we were getting booed. Man, folks was throwing stuff. Man, somebody hit me on the shoulder with like a lollipop. I'm like, why y'all throwing candy? Like, what? Why y'all throwing candy? Don't be throwing away the candy. So that was probably one of the most intense moments. But man, I loved it, man. I love the UK crowd. I love how they're passionate about their sports and over there, man. But you know, I should have pressed charges. You're throwing stuff at me is what I should have done. What I should have done. Let's see. Both of these teams have in common is that they both beat the Niners in the Super Bowl, either or we get a shot at redemption. The Wise, I see you got the 49ers, man. I know you repping hard, man. We're going to see what they can do. Hitchens, Catterall, I would have been excited, but glad it's not happening because Hitchens would have been favorite for me as much I love UK for Jack. Glad Jack is moving on to other things, man. I agree. And, you know, he's been campaigning for that Josh Taylor fight. I thought I read somewhere where he might get it. He might get it. We'll see. Sandy Ryan versus Harper. I have Ryan for DU. It's just became official. When is this one? I like Sandy Ryan in that one, man. Very early. I like Sandy Ryan in that one. I had Jack winning and showing the 140-pound division that he is the main player at 140. I think he's definitely a dark horse for sure. Nick Ball is going to be a problem for a long time. I really like that guy. He's got a really good chin as well, too, man. And he does a lot of things. Like he has to put himself in the right position. He has to get there. It's very impressive to me. Harper lost to Breakus, in my opinion, comfortably. Easy night work for Ryan. Shame Ryan not getting McCaskill rematch as that was robbery. Yeah. We never get these fights that we really want to see, man. Lewis Crocker versus Jose Felix this weekend. Jose Felix with Gary Cully. Bad. Yes, he did. Watch out for another upset this weekend. Man, Gary Cully wasn't his night. Wasn't his night that night. Did not see that one coming. Every country has that when they boo competitors from other countries, but we are the the worst for it. I just go there to watch whatever happening, then go home. Not interested in that Byronic nonsense. Yeah, man. The UK, man, they gave us a hard time. And the crazy thing was, I'm like, man, I get the intimidation. Like I get you want your people to be up here. You want to cheer for your people, man. But I'm like, man, like it was early in the daytime. Like people were throwing drinks. I'm like, yo, it is not that serious. It's not that. It's 11:30 in the morning. How are we getting this wild at 11:30 in the morning? But shout out to the UK, man. I always like competing there, man. Man, I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that. Appreciate your generosity, man. I really appreciate that. Who's on your top 10 pound for pound boxing list? Oh, man, that's a tough decision, man. Are you talking about all time? Or are you talking about right now? I'm going to name a few. And I would love for you guys to chime in as well, too. You know, you got to have Bud up there. You got to have Naoya Inoue up there. You got to have I actually gotta have Canelo. I'm putting better Biev up there. You gotta have better Biev up there. Putting Bivol up there. Putting Usyk there. I know a lot of people would have Gervonta there, but Tank needs to be a little more active for me. I don't have Tank there. I have Teofimo in that top 10 as well, too. Man, I'm going to go back and write this out. And I'm going to go this right back out and share it, man. But yeah, I got trying to think of some others. The pound for pound is so subjective whenever I see the list come out, man. But yeah, I'm gonna go back and say this, but that was a couple names that came to mind. 1, 2 is interchangeable. To me, when I make that list, gotta put why is his name slipping me? You gotta put Devin Haney on the list for what he's been able to do. Gotta put. You know what's interesting is whenever I see a pound for pound list, they always got Loma somewhere in there. I'm like, yo, what? How do we always having Loma in the top 10 list? Like, I like Loma like the next man, but man, Loma has, come on, man, he's not right now. So, who else? Who else? Who else? Who else? You got to put. Oh man, I can't forget Bam. You got to put Bam in there as well too. You got to put. Do we put Shakur in there? I would put Shakur in there, but a lot of people might not. A lot of people might not. I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna have my top 10 list and I'm gonna put it on the channel, on the community channel. I'm gonna go back and think about that, man. So that was just a couple that came to mind. Let me know your guys' list. Who do you guys have? Who are some of the names? Who are some of the names? Wait, let me not skip these. They had been drinking for 2 days straight before the meet. Honestly, man, I would not be surprised, bro. I would not be surprised. When Pablo B says Crocker Felix is in 147, Felix has never fought in the welterweight division. I see Croker winning. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting, man. You know, the hometown fighter, but Felix has shown that he can come in and kind of disrupt that a little bit. But it's a good fight. It's gonna be a good fight. Got you, man. I was flipped between Croker and Felix, but I got Felix on points. Croker is in a similar territory to Cully. Felix could come in, he could do his thing, and then you might as well give him the name the upset man. Yes, Haney has to be on the pound for pound list. I agree. I almost missed it. It almost slipped my mind. Couldn't remember his name. I think Crocker has much more power than Cully. He's really aggressive. He beat McKenna easily. It's gonna be a good fight, man. Some good fights happening this weekend, man. A good fight in different parts of the world to close out the end of January. Top 5 Inoue, Crawford, Usyk, Haney, Beterbiev. No arguments with that list, man. No arguments with that list. Let's have the permanent discussion next week. Absolutely, absolutely. Let's do that. We'll save it for next week. So everybody get that pound for pound list. We will discuss that next week. I'll definitely put that on here for sure so we don't miss that. Bam, Stevenson, Haney. Absolutely. Let's see. Shakur's last fight against De Los Santos just seems to have eclipsed all his incredible performance before them as far as the pound for pound goes. Yeah, that was a tough one to watch. We'll leave it at that. But he could still be in the conversation. Yeah, man. I kind of give people grace sometimes, man. One bad performance, I gear towards the history of what they've done, not just that one fight. We all have off night, off performances. Great top 5. Absolutely. Thoughts on Oscar? Man, every week it seems like it's something different. Every week is something different. Every week they're man, at this point, man, they should just go to Vegas and just both of these men should just get into the ring and just hash everything out. Just hash everything out because the words are not working. None of that's working. So let's just get into the ring and let's just hash it out. You guys get all of your animosity out, get your shots out, and then let's go back to business because these two are not on the same page. And the sooner that their contract ends together, the more that me and you, Chris, we can get less confused. I stopped trying to keep up with these two because every single week is something different. I'm like, come on, man, let's stop up. How you gonna have drama in your own camp, in your own promoter? You know what I'm saying? It's different. These two are different, man. The Monster 1, Canelo 2, Crawford 3, Lopez 4, Bam 5, Stevenson 5, Haney 6, 7, 7, Neverate. Ooh, you put Catterall in the top 10? Okay. All right. I see it. I see it. I see it. I see it. No nor better Biev, no Baval. No, not mad at the list, man. Everybody's respect to the list. Can't even argue with 1 and 2. I like that you got Teofimo up there. Bam Stevenson. Some good names on the list, man. Threw me off a little bit with Catterall in that mix, though. But I'm not mad at it. I'm not mad at it. Ryan's. Hey man, shout out to Ryan Garcia, man. I think he's a little bit confused about who he wants to fight. So I thought we were on the up when we fought Tank, and now we were thinking about fighting Haney, and now we were thinking about, and then somewhere we got to Rolly, and then somehow we got to Isaac Cruz. So I'm like, man, you, him and Haney, we were up here, but then it just kind of, you know, so I don't know who he's gonna fight at this time. It might just be all talk, might not even see it. I can't. I can't. Man, I think we might all do. I think we might all have him a little. We might care about him a little bit more. Oscar likes money, so maybe that's where his little bit of care comes from, man. The reason why I have there's because he started from 112. Yeah, that's a good point. I see you're bringing it from the whole spectrum, the entirety of his career, from seeing him start there and rising up and having success and continuing to rise and be dominant in how he's been able to do his thing. I see the full spectrum of it, so I can understand where you're coming from now. I appreciate you clarifying that for me, man. Makes sense. Makes sense. Uh, Haney handles Ryan. I agree. Canelo is not part of my pound for pound. He has to fight Benavidez, Morel, or at least Mbili to deserve to be part of that. Very interesting, my man Pablo. Very interesting. Um, so where do you have Benavidez on your? Is Benavidez on your list? Is Morel inching himself to make that list? Let me know, or we could, yeah, let me know real quick. But we'll definitely talk about this more in depth next week. Man, Chris Wells says, "What's next for Wilder?" Man, honestly, man, the way how he was talking, I don't know. I do not know. The AJ fight could possibly still be there because it's a big fight, puncher versus puncher. But man, the way how he was talking, man, it seems like he is 1 foot in, 1 foot out. I don't know if that's even the right mentality to be able to really take him serious, especially in that last performance. But I don't know, man. If I don't really think he recovered from those 3 fights that he had with Tyson Fury, man. I think those took a lot more out of him than we probably think. What do you think, real quick? Let me know real quick. Last couple questions, man, before we close out with the quarter of the week, man. I appreciate you guys rocking with me for the past hour and 12 minutes. I definitely want to get you guys out of here so you can get some nice rest. And for those that are overseas, well, about to wake up a little bit as well, too. So appreciate you guys for definitely tuning in and taking the time. Really appreciate that. Lights Out says Canelo does have to get back to fighting the top guys again. Real quickly, man, and we'll touch on this a little bit more next week. Man, I think, I don't think we have too much more great version of Canelo Alvarez. And it's not the fact that he can't operate at that high level and he's declining, so to speak, but he's been fighting at this level since he was like 15, 16 years old, man. So he's been in so much tough, grueling camps and fights. And yeah, he's only, 32, 33 years old, but man, the body is taking its toll. And so I'm really not sure how much more years of Canelo we're going to get competing at that elite level. He can always be at that good level. But as we know in sports, there's good, there's great, there's elite. And so I'm just not sure how much more Canelo has left. I give him a little bit of grace because I look at the entire thing. He's been doing this since he was 15. So it was like he was bound to decline at some point, and I think we're starting to see it. But from a cardiovascular conditioning standpoint in his last fight, he actually looked better, improved in that department for me. Canelo was Oh man, have they made that fight official yet? Haven't seen it yet. Have they made that one official yet? I think Navarrete is great, very powerful, but another guy whose last performance wasn't his best. Navarrete is another guy where it depends how he's prepared and how he looks for me. Sometimes I don't think he gets excited for the fight as well too. Should Canelo Crawford happen? Nah, I don't want to see that one. obviously I would watch it, but no, man, because one, they're gonna have to break out the bank for both of these two, um, and it's just like when. That's the other thing for me is like when, So you have Bud who's gonna go from 147 past 154, past 160. I mean, Bud probably walks around 154, 160 probably, but it's tough, man. So no, no, no. I don't want to see it. I don't want to see him raise that. I would love to see him 154 move up next. I'd love to see him fight Tim Zoo. But I don't want to see him move up too much to fight Canelo, And then if Canelo wins, it's gonna be like, oh man, he took out the smaller man, but had to move up, this and that. But then, if Bud win, they're gonna find a way to make an excuse, So not really want to see that one. I would like to see it, but I wouldn't love to see it. Yeah, man, we on the same page in that one, man. Neverate won the last fight. That was a horrible draw decision, man. That was probably. Did you see how happy Robson Conceição was after that fight, man? Shout out to Robson Conceição. He gave it everything, man. He was so glad for that draw. Probably the best thing for his career as well, too, moving forward. I think Canelo must fight the top opponents in 168 division before we can even think to fight with Crawford. I agree. Canelo has to at least defend his belt in that division with guys that we want to see. I like the fact that he fought Caleb Plant, but Benavidez next, and Bailey is in there too. We're probably not going to get that Morrell fight. We'll probably get David Benavidez and Morrell before we get Canelo against any of those guys. So yeah, we'll see, man. We still have the storms over here in the UK, man. What's funny? Every time I go to the UK, like it doesn't rain. Like it doesn't really rain like that for me. Now that's not the story for everybody. You know what I'm saying? So I know it rains a lot over there, but from my experience, the weather has been good for me, man. I hope it's been good for you over there, man. But man, wow, this has been what, hour 17 now, man. How we finish up. We finish up the same. I'm a firm believer in staying positive, staying encouraged. As many of you know, yeah, track and field is the background, but speaking is what I do full time, man. So let's close out. One more comment. Why says Canelo's not thinking of fighting one? Everyone is thinking of fighting Canelo. Yeah, Canelo, he's chilling, playing golf playing golf and waking up and just doing his thing. Okay, let's see. Let's get these two more and we'll close out. This is a interesting fight. I think it's one of those fights where Shiraz should win, but Williams is gonna test him, man. He is gonna test him. So it's going to be interesting to see how he responds to this type of test. Williams has fought some good quality opposition, so it's going to be a good test. I think Shiraz wins, but it could be one of those trap fights. Could be one of those fights, but should be interesting. My fences have been collapsed, trying to get them fixed when the weather goes away, man. I hope the weather goes away sooner than later so you can get that fixed, man. We got to keep the upkeep of our place as best as we can, man. And the crazy thing is Mother Nature does not care about our possessions. Selfish. All right, let's close out with this week's quote of the week. You may not control all the events that happen to you, but you can decide not to be reduced by them. Maya Angelou, one of my favorite quotes of all time, man. My grandmother, when I was growing up, she used to say, Akeem, it's not what you answer to. It's not what people call you. It's what you answer to. And when I was young, we're talking about, 6, 7 years old, you're like, yo, grandma, what does that even mean? Like, what are you talking about? Like, it didn't really, sometimes, the people say things that you're not really able to grab what they're saying until a little bit later when you experience certain things. And I got a little bit older and I realized it's not what people say about you. Just because people may say something or they may not like you or they may not think that you're this or that does not mean that you have to let that ruin your day. Does not mean that you have to believe everything that people say, right? And it just made me think, it's like, man, what you think about yourself is way more important than what anybody else thinks about you. Personally, I always use myself as experience, right? And if you've seen a bunch of the breakdown videos, I always go back to me because everybody's situation is a little bit different. Man, I've had teachers, say that, Akeem, man, you're not going to be able to graduate college. I've had coaches tell me that I wasn't going to run certain things or get to certain levels. I've had a bunch of people say a bunch of different things about me. And I never really worried too much about what people said as much as I just focused on what I knew was possible for me, right? And sometimes when someone can't see something for you, they have no other alternative but to try and tear you down because they can't see it for themselves. So when the teacher goes and say, Key, man, I don't think you're going to be able to graduate. This is a high school teacher, a couple teachers that said that. And so when I graduate college in 3.5 years instead of 4, and I come back and do my high school graduation presentation, and I see that teacher in the front row looking at me and I'm waving to them, you cannot let people try and tear you down because of what they think about you. Do your thing. You can think what you think about you, but what do you think about you? Just because they say something doesn't mean we have to believe it and hold on to it. We got to let that stuff go, and it takes time. Because when you hear something over and over and over again, if it's always a negative thing over and over again, it creeps a little bit in your mind. And so when people say things, when people do things, we do not have to answer all the time. It's kind of like that saying, you don't have to throw a stone at every dog that barks, because two things happen. Either you run out of stones or your arm gets tired. So like in boxing, we got to pick our shots. We got to pick what we respond to. We got to pick how we're going to react, because we can't react to everything. When we react, it's off emotion. But when we respond, it's with experience, and we can put some of that experience and that lesson that we've learned over time to action. So that's what this quote makes me think of, man. You may not control all the events that happen to you, but you can decide not to be reduced by them. Just saw 4 quick comments coming in. We're going to answer these ones real quick, man, and then we will close things out. Pablo B, I appreciate you, man. Shout out to everybody in Chile. Shout out to you, man. I appreciate you taking the time to tune in, man. I appreciate that, man. It usually takes me like a good solid like 25, 30 minutes to find a good one, because I don't want to come on here and give you fluff. Like, I don't want to come on here and give you things that, that are just simple, like hard work always pays off. Like, stuff like that. That's not how I do my presentation when I speak. I'm not going to give you some watered down quote or some watered down info behind it as well, too, man. I always want to keep it honest. Always want to give things that are applicable right now. And hopefully, we can carry it. This is a quote that I come back to each week. I read it a couple times, and that's literally my quote of the week. You know what I'm saying? So appreciate that, man. The Wise, appreciate you, man. One last question. What do you think about Usyk versus Dubois fight? Man, I actually thought Dubois held his own for the most part. I thought he did pretty good, man. I thought he did pretty good. But he was not going to be able to handle the movement of Usyk, man. And that was one of those fights where Usyk, you saw the full package of Usyk, the movement, the skill, even a little power in his shots. So 10 times out of 10, 9 times out of 10, I'm picking Usyk to beat Dubois. But I thought it was a good fight. I'm more interested on what I'm eating than what these buffoons say about me. Go read Peppa. That's what I'm talking about, man. That's what I'm talking about. Peppa Pig is a big show. Big show. Big show. Many thanks. Appreciate you, man. I appreciate each of you guys, man. So again, this is why I wanted to do this, because I wanted to connect with you guys a little bit more and not just talk boxing by itself, but we just talk life, man, because I believe boxing is a great metaphor for life. You get hit, you got to get back up. And sometimes in life, we get hit with some unexpected events, man. And so that's why I do my breakdowns a little bit different. I try to add a life component to it. Some people like it, some don't. But, I believe in community. I believe that we're all in a fight. And if we can help each other and support each other, man, that's what this whole stream is about. This is what the weekly show is about. We're going to talk boxing, of course, going to give our thoughts, of course, all of that stuff. We're going to have fun, but we're definitely going to be talking life. We're definitely going to try to encourage each other and uplift each other, man, because, man, we are in a world that is trying to break us down, and we got to stay encouraged in order to fight some of these battles, man. Man, I appreciate you, man. I will see you all next week, man. I will see you all next week. Man, thank you guys for taking the time to tune in. Again, I really appreciate your eyes, your ears. I don't take it for granted. I appreciate each of you, man. It really, really does mean a lot that you guys take the time to tune in and share your thoughts on the fights, man. I really appreciate it. God bless each of you. Stay encouraged, stay positive, keep the faith, and we'll definitely see you next week.